needs going into this round?
A little bit. There's, I think, one table that's currently drawing. There are the 2 XOs in the format.
Yep.
So there's only 2 people at XO currently.
Okay.
So things could get really dicey after next round when they're against some of your X1 opponents that are not willing to draw with them.
That's true. It's probably likely, let's see, so assuming that there's several other tables that are able to draw at X and 1, the people that were undefeated going into this round, the 2 7-0s who get to draw to 7-0 and 1, they're more likely to draw in the last round to be 7-0-2 and then be the 1 and 2 seeds going to the top 8, or maybe the 2 and the 3 if like one table at X and 1 has to play their way in, that sort of thing. You know, as long as you're on the play for the quarterfinals, that's like the really important round to be on the play, because after that, you know, weird things can happen. Sometimes you can be like the 5th seed but still be on the play for the entire, or be on the play for the rest of the top 8 if the higher bracket loses and you win, that sort of thing. But we're gonna find out, you know, after this round's over. But for now, these guys are probably fighting for a top 8 slot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
These guys are both X1 currently. Another match I almost featured would have been Elves versus Affinity. They're also X1. Aiden, who was in the lead of the standings prior to last round, he picked up his first loss last round.
Oh, okay. So that means his breakers are very good. So if he wins against his opponent, the old boxcars. So if he wins against his opponent, his breakers should put him into the top 8. So it looks like Affinity is going to be on the play. Certainly exactly what it needs. Really need to, you know, get on the board fast. Try to be able to get out under all the removal that Mike is likely to be packing. Also could help too if you can establish a board presence, force Mike to have to use some removal spells, and then be able to get a Karn into play a little bit ahead of schedule. Ooh, this is a good start.
Yeah, that's pretty decent start.
Yeah.
Nothing of its best, but very good. 2 threats on the floor. Starts with a Colonnade, which is very good for the Affinity deck.
If Andrew is able to deploy an Etch Champion here, or Master of Ethereum is also very powerful.
Yep, attack for 1 off of the Signal Pest.
Right. I mean, unfortunately for Andrew, I think that Mike has a Path Exile in his hand, so the Master of Ethereum is not going to stick around for too long, but, I mean, it still represents a lot of extra damage. Yep.
Upkeep Path.
Yep, just make sure that he doesn't have that land untapped on his turn, tapped instead.
Is there any reason we want to wait? We would elect to wait on the Path to Exile?
I think that the only thing that you should really do there is wait until Andrew's draw step and then do it. You definitely do not want to do it, or I guess you can do it during combat too, but you definitely don't want to do it in the main phase, because you can just tap it for mana with the Springleaf Drum and just get a free mana that way. I think during the draw step is best, because Andrew could theoretically have drawn that island, and then the Path Exile wouldn't have gotten anything for free.
Yeah.
But, I mean, in this case, Andrew is still going to make a really nice play here and smash with a large Signal Pest.
Yeah, play Cranial Plating, equip it to the Signal Pest. Cranial Plating gives +1/+0 for each artifact you control.
Yeah.
So it counts itself, it counts Signal Pest, it counts your Darksteel Citadels and your Mox Opals. It's really one of the big powerhouses of the Affinity.
Oh, yeah. This thing has been a mainstay of the deck ever since the early 2000s when the card was printed. It is incredibly devastating card, especially when combined with all these, you know, flying and can only be blocked by flying and reach creatures. You know, evasive threats plus extra, 5 or 6 power easily finishes games. I wonder what Mike has. Probably some instance.
Can't be an Electrolyze. We've confirmed that already.
That, at the very least, it cannot be that. Another drum is not the greatest. Another Signal Pest isn't bad, though. It's another threat.
Yep, it's another threat. It's another Anthem effect for the rest of your creatures as well. The beauty of the Springleaf Drum is that we are able to utilize the new Signal Pest to be able to move the Cranial Plating.
Yeah, this is nice here.
You can use the Springleaf Drum for a black, tap the Mox Opal for a black, move it over to the Ornithopter. Ornithopter is flying and still can't be blocked by the Snapcaster Mage.
That's true, and he also got in an extra point with the Battlecry trigger, so it actually worked out in his favor that, obviously he was going to make that play. Both players would make the play regardless, but it's nice for Andrew that he got in the extra point, being able to move the cranial plating over, and I guess Mike just didn't have a way to get rid of it. And game 1 is going to go to Andrew.
R.I.P. the Electrolyze, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, right?
R.I.P. the Electrolyze.
Yeah, Electrolyze with a pen.
Kirwan.
Yeah, that card is quite good versus this deck.
Oh, I'm very excited to see that card
Oh,
come
yeah,
down.
I'm a big fan of that card in...
No Staticaster?
Nope. Or, no, he has a Staticaster.
Oh, I think he bypassed it.
Did he?
Yeah, I believe Mike bypassed the Staticaster.
I thought I saw it. Wasn't it right there? Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, okay. All right, so he did grab it. I thought he only grabbed the 2 Stony
He's not that
Silences.
crazy. He's like, no, I'm going to play this on hard mode, and I'm going to see if I can win without sideboard any cards. I don't think that's going to happen. If we're looking at the sideboards here, though, Mike's sideboard is filled with some powerful spells against this Affinity deck. He's got a copy of Disenchant. He's got a copy of Settle the Wreckage. He's got a Pia and Kieran Nalar, 2 Stony Silences, and he has an Is a Staticaster, all of which are very powerful options against the Affinity deck.
Pia and Kieran Nalar just being phenomenal to make 1/1 flyers, right? Chump block a lot of the stuff, and it can block and trade with Etch Champions.
Yeah, it's so good. Like, it does so many different things. I mean, even in some games, you can do something as simple as just using it to block and trade with flyers, and you can even bounce it with Cryptic Command and just recast it.
Yep.
It's just really good. Yeah, or are they 6-1?
7-1. No, yeah, 6-1,
yeah,
6-1, because it's
6-1.
8th round.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah, do you mind letting them know?
Yeah, they're in the Twitch chat.
Oh, they are? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they can hear us.
Okay. No, I didn't know for the overlay if we needed to communicate that otherwise. Okay. That's fair.
Yeah, so what is it? Andrew actually, I don't believe, has any Etch Champions main board. I believe all his
Really?
Etch Champions are in the sideboard. He's got 3 in the board.
Look at that. I
So
mean,
that's one of the first places I'm going.
Right, yeah.
Thoughtseize, Spell Pierce, other 2 spells that I'm very, very keen on bringing into this
yeah,
matchup.
I agree. I think that you want Thoughtseize.
Yeah.
Spell Pierce, you probably want in the draw. I'd have to talk to more Affinity players to know if I really wanted Spell Pierce in the draw here. Because it can be kind of tough to be able to like counter the spells that matter. Like, countering Stony Silence on turn 1 is very tough when you just deploy like, your creatures but don't have any blue mana up.
Yeah.
It's much easier on the play where you can deploy your threat and then hold up a blue mana on turn 2 to be able to counter the turn 2 Stony. And S Champion, as you said, really good versus a deck that's just chock full of removal.
Yep. Target removal spells are very, very difficult to deal with the Etch Champions.
Mm-hmm.
However, we do have Supreme Verdicts over on the Jeskai control side.
Right.
So there is some counterplay to that. You want to try to bait your Jeskai opponent into playing their Wrath before you play the Etch Champion.
Right.
So then you can take over the game via that. You
Yeah.
know, it's kind of like forcing the Wrath, resolving your Planeswalkers against the control decks. Always very strong plays.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think that, Andrew did get game 1. I guess Mike just didn't have any other way of really dealing with the creatures. He must have had like a slow reactive hand that might have been filled with maybe too much counter magic.
Yeah, probably counter magic. Path to Exile being the only spell he played against the Affinity deck isn't great, right?
Yeah.
You put them up another land, allow them to play all of their threats in the following turn, and if you don't have a verdict, then you're too far behind to really catch back up.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, Mike is on the play here. It looks like his opener not what he wanted.
I believe I saw the Settle the Wreckage too.
Yep, definitely brought that in. That card is phenomenal here. As long as it doesn't get spell pierced, it doesn't matter what creatures are coming in, who has cranial plating. If he attacked with everything, then all those creatures are gone. And there's only one land. There's usually only one basic in these Affinity lists. It looks like Andrew is only playing one. So Settle is just super Path to Exile. It just clears out everything all at once, and it does tag S Champion if it attacks too, which is really
and
nice.
it'll get the lands, which actually don't end up replacing themselves because, like you said, there's only one basic in the deck.
Right, yeah. The lands matter a lot, too. They give the Affinity deck that level of resiliency that allows it to still be a Tier 1 deck even, years and years and years after it originally was built. Let's see if Mike's 6 is a little better. Got
See
too
a
late.
bolt, looks like a Spell Snare.
And a Flooded Strand for some action. Yeah, I'm in for that. a couple removal spells, counter spell for a payoff spell that costs 2, and
I'm going to leave the top card on top after the scry. I'm going to play a fetch land, which was past turn. They have the ability to lightning bolt a 1-drop, spell snare a 2-drop. Just all depends on what Andrew plays in this point. We're going to go Spire of Industry, tap a colorless for a Springleaf Drum, 0 a Memnite, 0 a Memnite, tap a Memnite, and pay 2 life for a Vault Scourge. Mike has the opportunity to fetch and play either the spell snare or a lightning bolt targeting any one of the creatures.
Right. I don't know if he's going to be... Okay, I guess he did top the card. I guess it's possible that he just was topping it because it didn't matter if it was top or bottom. He was planning on fetching this turn anyways.
Yep.
Regardless of the spell that was there. I mean, if he had a spell that really mattered on top, I think I'm more inclined to just draw the card and then just take, a hit here and then be able to fetch later and get that strong spell in my hand. But I don't know what he kept on top, so it's hard to say. That's okay, though.
Yeah, I think when you get locked into playing fetch lands like this, the scries matter that much less. Mm-hmm. Drew the Abrade for turn.
Certainly not a bad one.
Nope, and we don't generally have to interact as the blue-white Jeskai player at this point because Andrew's only presenting 3 power in creatures.
Right.
We want to be able to use our instant speed removal spells to take out the man lands, which are hard to deal with.
Yeah, I agree. Looks like Lightning Bolt's likely going to take out this Vault Scourge, which it does. So Andrew gets to come over 2 points.
Memnites come across for 2.
And
tap 2. Spell snare that every day of the week.
That's
twice on Tuesdays.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, this is pretty nice here. So he gets to actually crack for likely
an island.
Yeah, I think so.
Get a basic island. Try to keep our life total a little higher.
Yep.
Play the Search for Escanta.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and he has Lightning Bolt still to be able to interact on Andrew's turn. So I guess he's got, 2 fetches, a Lightning Bolt, and a Spell Snare. If he uses the other bolts, he's not going to be able to flip Search immediately, but basically get to flip it in 2 turns, where he gets to bolt, and the next turn use a Braid, have enough cards in his graveyard, flip the Search, and that Search, as long as his life total is high enough, will very likely pull him ahead and win in this game.
So, as the Jeskai Pro in the booth currently, how often do you flip your Search for Escanta?
Well, I mean, it's going to flip almost every game that you just survive long enough. I mean, the deck is filled with...
But it's a choice.
Oh, it's true. Right, but I mean, I think that you're just going to, flip it almost every single time.
That you have the opportunity no matter what?
I mean, there's some instances where you don't want to, play into your opponent's, Field of Ruin or the Ghost Court or whatever, but, I mean... Search in those matchups, you can, in the matchups where your opponent has a way of actually destroying it, you can just wait until you have enough mana to flip it, activate it once, you still get, card advantage out of it, you still get a spell, they use their card to deal with your card, so you still get some advantage from that. But I think that in instances like this, in matchups like this, Search is just almost the best card, because it comes on very quickly. You get to still, exactly in this instance here, you got to play it while holding up a spell to interact with Andrew, and now he's just going to be able to, without spending any more mana, filters, draws a little bit, and then once he flips it, it's just going to run away with the game, because he's going to get Lightning Bolts, there's no Electros in this deck, Lightning Bolts, Lightning Helixes, Disenchant, or whatever the case may be.
Yep.
It's just going to, pull him way far ahead.
I think Mike elected to leave the card on top of his library with the Search for Escanta. It was a Lightning Helix.
Right.
As much as I like that card in this matchup, we missed the land drop this turn. So I'm sort of inclined to not keep that, put that on the bottom.
You think so?
And try to search for our lands. Or put that into the graveyard, search for our lands.
Well, I mean, there's some merit to that. I would be a little curious to find out how many of the big spells Mike left in his deck, how many of the larger planeswalkers or spells like Sphinx's Rev he left in. I'm assuming that he probably took a lot of them out, but I don't mind just trading 1-for-1 here, because we already have 3 lands with Search, so we're going to be able to activate Search every turn as long as Andrew doesn't cast anything too powerful, and Lightning Helix buying us a lot of time here. He's able to. Oh, he's not able to cast Lightning Helix and a Braid at the same turn, though. It's too bad.
And he put a red source in the graveyard as well. So that's why I was thinking we want more lands.
That's possible. It is possible he could have also. Oh no, he drew Helix Return, right?
Yep.
So in order for him to have been able to get that red land while still flipping, he would have needed to upkeep with the trigger on the stack, a Braid, the Steel Overseer. But I guess you don't know that there's a Steam Vents on top, so kind of hard to know that ahead of time. Although
Snapcaster Mage is going to be one of the bigger payoffs here.
Yeah, I don't really see Mike losing from this spot unless Andrew probably draws Champion into running ways to make his power bigger. I actually kind of like... Oh, okay, so he's going to do this. All right. I think what I would have done on his turn instead, so you'd be able to use all your mana, is you can instead go play Snapcaster Mage, targeting Helix. Snapcaster can block the Memnite, and then Helix can heal it and target the Inkball Nexus. A Braid then can tag the S Champion next turn. You used all your mana the previous turn, and then if you draw, like, a 2, you have a Braid into another 2-drop spell instead. Yeah. Although this is working out, I guess, for Mike here. So he's still going to be able to abrade the cranial plating, and he still gets to... Yep.
Snapcaster comes down, target a Braid. And Braid's probably going to go after the cranial plating.
Looks like it.
One more poison counter is not going to be that big of a deal
in
this game currently. Snapcaster electing to block the Memnite like you were talking about?
Yep. I think in this matchup, like, he has a flipped search. Once Andrew has run out of creatures, which he almost is, all he needs to do is just activate Search for Scanta and find spells. Or cast Ciarkowski Nalar, which is also going to just kind of house anything that Andrew can do.
Yeah, it's going to blank any attack that Andrew's going to try to muster right now. He can go with the Ornithopter and the Inkmoth Nexus, and we can double block the Ornithopter, get that off the floor, take another poison counter because we don't care that much about that, and still keep both of the Thopters. Mm-hmm. Or we can go on, draw a 6th land, and then use the sacrifice ability on Ciarkowski Nalar and just snipe both of the creatures.
Yeah, this is looking pretty good for Mike in this spot. He's a high life total, only has 4 poison. He's got flying blockers to handle Inkball Nexus. Even Cranial Plating off the top isn't really that good here.
Nope.
I mean, he gets to, I guess, trade the 2 Thopters if he wants to, or he can just block, because next turn he's able to block and sack, so he can actually block one while taking out the other.
Yep.
Is that Stony Silence?
Yeah, I think it was a Stony Silence. Which is decent here, too, because we're able to deploy the Stony Silence and activate Ciarkowski Nalar.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that he's just going to deploy Stony. Because, luckily for Mike, the activated ability is from Ciarkowski and not from the token, so he will still be able to chuck...
I think Mike should have attacked with the token.
I mean, he can still block and sack. So this way he can block and sack in case of... I guess he's just going to do it in response. Makes sense.
Can we activate an Inkmoth Nexus in the face of a Stony Silence?
You can make it into a creature, but you're not able to do anything else with it. I guess if Andrew's going to have any way of winning this game, it's going to be with S Champion. Master of Ethereum, my bad. Although S Champion.
I think an X Champion here would be good. Garrett per Aether Grid.
That's also very good here. It actually makes your artifacts matter in the face of Stony Silence, which is super important. I think
I like, for Mike, fetching the Scalding Tarn for a red source and then activating the search. I don't like fetching after.
Yeah, I feel like you're right. Fetching first gives you slightly better odds, and you're likely to sacrifice the Scalding Tarn anyways. So I
think Settle the Wreckage is in this 4.
Right.
That or another Stony Silence.
The only search, yeah, you can get Stony, but I mean, redundant Stonies is not what he needs here. And unfortunately for Settle the Wreckage, if Andrew knows about it, Supreme is not bad, but issue.
Yeah, the positive to Supreme and the way things have been going so far is Mike's life total is still really high because most of the damage been dealt so far has been through poison.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, he really just needs to keep Andrew's board state under control, and it looks like that's what he's going to do.
Yeah, throw Team Supreme down. One less artifact for him to be able to use on the Gear per Aether Grid.
Right. Yeah, I mean, at the very least...
Yeah, actually, now there's only 4 artifacts?
Yeah,
1, 2, 3, 4? Yeah, there's 4 instead of 5, which is
I
nice.
don't know if Andrew should be attacking. I guess he can, but I don't know if he's going to win with poison. Wait. Oh, he's just going to deal... He's going to deal a damage to Mike, I guess?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's really any utility in doing that now instead of waiting, but...
I think attacking with the poisonous Ink Mob Nexus is faster clock. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 poison, as is.
Yeah, so it's 6 turns versus 7, although I think that it's much more likely that Andrew's going to win through damage than it is through poison. Like, 1 removal spell makes the poison clock not matter, but every artifact at least will contribute to the damage plan.
Yeah.
I just don't know if he needed to activate Ink Moth right now and deal 1 damage, but I guess he did anyways.
I think the fact that Mike had no cards in hand that could interact was why Andrew activated it.
Oh man, I wonder. I mean, I guess like he just missed a point with his artifacts. I guess because he untapped his card, he thought that he was locked into not activating it or whatever. But in most instances, most judges will allow you to still activate end of turn abilities as long as you haven't, drawn or clearly untapped and drawn for the turn. But
Yeah.
looks like
Snapcaster Mage.
Yep, looks like
Target Helix, probably?
yeah, probably.
Just a bolt?
Really? That's because he wants to activate Sorcerer's Canto. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that he had exactly enough to be able to Snap Bolt plus activate.
Yeah, the Teferi here is really
Oh,
strong.
this is
You can
nice.
just put the Aether Grid back into your opponent's deck.
It's true. The Teferi would die to the Aether Grid, which isn't exactly what you want to be doing. I feel like it's likely that he is going to
Untap 2 lands.
Yep.
Be able to activate Sorcerer's Cannon on his turn still.
Yeah, and the Teferi is going to be at a... Oh, he is going to put it under. He's going to put it at 1, though. So he's going to lose the Teferi to the Aether Grid. I suppose if Mike has a counterspell of some sort, like say a Cryptic Command in his hand, then he can answer the grid when it gets drawn again. But I don't know. I think I like activating the Teferi's plus more than I like activating his minus.
Yeah, I agree. We get the Sorcerer's Canto trigger. He can only deal 2 points of damage on his turn. Untap, deal 2 more points. Teferi's still at 1.
Right. And then you get to just activate it again, the standard planeswalkers are coming out to play in Modern. This is great.
Karn make a construct.
All right. I mean, that construct is pretty mighty. It's a 4/4 right now.
Actually, no, I like Karn make a construct here because Karn was draw for turn.
Yeah.
And so in the top 2 cards is the Gear per Aether Grid.
Right.
So your opponent's definitely not going to give you the Gear per Aether Grid unless the other card is Etch Champion.
Oh no, I agree. I think that you're right. The minusing here, because if you plus, Aether Grid could get stranded if your opponent just draws Lightning Bolt, gets rid of Karn, and then your Aether Grid's gone.
Yep.
You want, and the construct does represent a pretty significant clock. In addition, like it's a 4/4 right now, and it can easily be a 5/5 on his next turn. If he draws an artifact, it can easily be a 6/6. Oh, that's Snapcaster Mage is untapped. Andrew has certainly drawn the cards he needs to have it, continuous game in this matchup. It's a pretty tough search for his game. Oh,
Cryptic Command.
that's interesting. I guess
Bounce, construct, draw card.
it looks like it. So he does have
Sphinx's
Rev.
Rev.
Interesting. Okay. So he's going to draw for turn.
This is still really good out of Mike because This forces Andrew to tick the Karn up or lose the Karn, possibly next turn. If he ticks the Karn up, top card is Gear per Aether Grid.
Yeah, so
you're going to get a Blink Moth Nexus.
Yeah. I guess he's really banking on this Ink Moth Nexus being able to protect this Karn. I guess he does have Blink Moth too, so he actually has 2 creatures that can protect the Karn. However, if Mike is able to, as Kanta, into a burn spell, that Karn is just going to not be long for this world.
Yep.
There's a Snapcaster Mage, oh, you can't get it with his Kanta, never mind.
Another Stony Silence.
Alright, well, that's not the card we were looking for. I mean, sorry.
This is where a Desolate Lighthouse would look really spectacular.
Yeah. The last card,
Like
aside from the
exile?
but there's also Sphinx's Rev in Mike's hand. That card, draw 5, gain 5, not bad here. Wouldn't be surprised to see that get cast after this happens here. Actually, I might have even considered. I don't know about.
Pathing here seems weird.
It does seem weird.
I think I don't like passing. I like activating Escanta, at least searching for a spell.
Right. I think that you.
Yeah.
If your plan here is to activate Escanta, you should just do it on your turn to draw into a Lightning Bolt and be able to get rid of the Karn or Lightning Helix.
Yep.
If your plan is to Sphinx's Rev, you should do it on your turn to be able to possibly draw land and a Lightning Bolt to be able to get rid of the Karn.
Yep.
So either way, you're giving yourself odds to be able to answer Karn and get rid of the Aether Grid, instead of what's happening here, where the Aether Grid's in play, and now we have to deal with both the Karn and the Aether Grid at the same time. See, there's Lightning Bolt. I guess he wouldn't have drawn the land necessary, but. All right, Karn down. And as long as that Disenchant is somewhere in Mike's deck, then as long as he can find it, he's got a pretty good avenue to victory, but he needs to find it first.
Yeah, I like Wear and Tear, I think, a little bit better than I like Disenchant overall.
That's fair. Oh, he found it.
Is.
He found
Tap
it.
4, deal 2 damage.
Yep.
I wasn't expecting a new art Disenchant such as that.
That's from Masters 25, I think, right?
That or Iconic Masters. One of the two.
I believe that because of the M insignia in the background of the text, I'm pretty sure that represents an M25 one, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. It's like the other printing was different art. Yeah, Iconic Masters had a different art entirely.
Yeah. Okay. That'll do it.
Oh, this is actually really interesting. Isn't that a Mox Sapphire?
It is. This new art, yep.
Yeah, I like the new art now.
Right?
I'm in on that.
Yeah, right?
I'm all about blowing up Mox Sapphires.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, this is the point where Mike has now actually turned the corner. Got fistful of cards, extra removal spell.
Another search for
Yeah,
Escanta.
even though it's redundant, but I mean, it does effectively scry one during his upkeep.
Yep, we're just going to be able to filter our draws for the rest of the game, as well as draw extra cards.
Right, yeah. All he's really looking for here is probably another Snapcaster Mage that'll flash back the Rev, and then he'll draw enough burn spells to be able to just burn Andrew out without having to actually deal combat damage.
Yep.
I mean, he also could just draw Snapcaster Mage attack with it. That would also suffice. I think that
3 turns of attacking with Colonnade is also acceptable.
That will also do it too. Yep. Always a good way to finish off the game. I think he's got at least one Path Exile, possibly 2. A little anemic on this board state.
The loneliest of Ornithopters.
Yeah, right.
There's a Teferi on the top.
Yep.
Probably going to take that. Yep.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Andrew's seen enough. He knows when he's beat. I don't blame him.
Yeah, there were a few spots in that game where Andrew was in the driver's seat and had a really good chance at winning. I think he should have forced the issue with the poison counters when Mike was at 4 and you had the Aether Grid on the floor.
Right.
If you're just going to activate your Blink Moth or your Ink Moth Nexus just to tap 2 of them to deal a point of damage, I don't think that's as strong as shipping in for 4 poison, putting your opponent to 8 poison with lethal next turn.
Yeah, it's tough. It's like
Because if you lose the Ink Moth, you still have the Aether Grid, and you still have points of damage coming through that way.
right, like you have 2 avenues. It just sucks when like only one of 2 avenues will actually win you the game. If you go and like, for example, if you put your opponent like 8 or 9 poison, and then they win the game, like that, those poison counters didn't matter whatsoever. But like if you're gonna win with damage eventually, then you should just be going for damage the whole time. It's tough sometimes to know exactly what plane you're supposed to be on. I don't think that either option was a winning line for Andrew, though. I think that regardless of if he went for poison or if he went for damage, Mike was drawing all the correct cards that he needed to be able to take game 2.
Yeah, I just like the 2-turn clock versus the 20-turn clock.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that.
Right? You put your opponent on have it or die, in which I know you've seen it in Jeskai Control before where you sometimes just don't have it. Like game 1, we just didn't have it. We had A Path and A Snapcaster.
Yep.
Didn't get us there.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, it's always an interesting conundrum for the Affinity player. It's just interesting because I've actually won matches specifically because they would put the cranial plating on the wrong creature and I would survive at either 1 life or 9 poison.
Yeah.
And then win the match basically front and the brink of death. Where if they put the cranial plating on the correct creature, I would have actually lost the match instead. That has happened to me. But anyways, it's in the past. Now we're here in the future where they're going to game 3. And Andrew does get to be on the play, which is pretty nice.
Yeah. It's going to be very helpful for the Affinity deck. Draw game 2 was solid, had an okay start. Would have been much better on the play in the driver's seat.
Oh, for sure. Looks like Mike has a hand that's got a couple lands, a Serum Visions, a Settle the Wreckage. Certainly a keeper. Andrew's got the 3 creature start.
Yep. 4 cards deployed from my hand. Turn 1.
Yep. Always a strong start. Looks like, I actually think that this might be a small mistake from Mike. I'm pretty sure that even with, your spot where you're trying to preserve your life total, I think that leading on Island Serum Vision in this matchup is kind of rough, because if he draws a Lightning Helix, he really wants to cast it on turn 2. Island does not cast Lightning Helix. So if, granted, I guess Andrew has the Arcbound Ravager, so that Lightning Helix doesn't matter as much, but I think that in spots like this, you need to give yourself access to cast your spells on time, and Island can kind of put you in a bad spot.
Yeah, leading with basics is really tough.
Yeah,
like you mentioned, you want to be able to cast some of your double-colored spells, your Lightning Bolts, your Serum Visions, Lightning Helix. You want to get to a point where you can cast Bolt and Helix in the same turn.
Right, and Island is just not going to function in those spots. I guess now he's kind of priced into pathing, which kind of sucks. I don't mind this, though. Yep, just going to sack and move the counter over. I think that I think that Andrew might be more incentivized to actually move the counter over to the Ornithopter so he spreads out his power a little bit more. Because now any effect that, I guess now is another one of those, but any effect that gets rid of the Vault Scourge means that counter is now lost forever.
Yeah, Vault Scourge, definitely one of the larger threats on the battlefield, so adding a counter to it just puts a bigger target on its back.
Right, exactly. So now it makes any subsequent removal spells more effective than if the damage or the power had been spread out with the Ornithopter. But
we do have a Settle. Mike has a Settle the Wreckage in hand.
Right.
So if he can survive another turn, which I'm assuming he can, because I believe Andrew's hellbent.
I think so. It looks like Mike is likely to play Snapcaster Mage during his main phase and do the same play he did last turn, just path the Ravager immediately. and see where the counters go, and then settle on the next turn will save him from dying, although he doesn't have a lot of lands in his hand. He's going to need to draw some action.
Yeah. Mike going for the snap path might entice Andrew to start attacking with the Blink Moths much, much harder.
Also that too.
Which would play very, very well into the Settler Wreckage. Yeah, activate a Blink Moth, move the counter from from Arcbound Ravager to the Blink Moth Nexus.
Yep. Looks like you're right. Looks like he's just going to spread it over there.
And Snapcaster's able to trade with the Meta Knight, so again, it's another incentive on sending the Blink Moth Nexuses into the red zone.
Agreed.
Ooh, Thoughtseize.
Oh, this is nice here.
Really, really bad for
man.
Mike.
Well, settle the wreckage, and you're gone. Nice knowing you.
Yeah, Mike definitely needs to throw the Snapcaster in front of the Meta Knight and start soaking up as much damage as he possibly can.
Right. Yeah, yep. Just going to block and take 6, it looks like.
Yep. Andrew's going to gain 2 off of the lifelink from Vault Scourge.
And he actually can present lethal next turn, so it means that Mike is going to have to block.
Yeah, Mike has to play the P and Kieran Nalaar.
I'm surprised he's not just sacking the Scalding Tarn to be able to
just fetch
play
from a mountain.
Yeah, just play the Pia instead, take 1 less damage. Yep.
Activate attack. You have to block the Blink Moth Nexus because it is lethal by itself at the moment. Yeah, and this is another reason why playing the Steam Vents untapped, losing a point of life is bad.
Yep.
Like, it could be Galvanic Blast, and you could still die regardless.
Right.
But I think he would have just... He doesn't have Metalcraft at the moment, because the second Blink Moth Nexus.
Right, yeah. He would not be lethal to a Gal Blast, but I think you're right. I really wonder why Mike went with Steam Vents instead of just mounting off of Scalding Tarn. Like, mounting off of Scalding Tarn means that you can just play the Steam Vents the next turn, just tapped, and then be able to, not necessarily take more damage here. You're basically taking max damage in this line where you're taking 1 plus 2 instead of 1 plus maybe 0.
Yeah, and you still have the subsequent fetch lands that you need to be able to fetch, and you don't have the life total for that.
Yeah, no, it looks like he's got another Tarn in his hand and a Path Exile.
That's going to be good.
That's actually pretty good. I mean, he does... Actually, I'm pretty sure he was supposed to attack with Pia last turn, because that card's not blocking anything.
No.
I'm pretty sure that attacking with it was free. I guess...
Yeah,
smart.
I think I like leaving back the Thopter, even though we have Path, sacrifice Thopter to kill Vault Scourge.
I think you just block here and then sack it to kill the Vault Scourge. I mean,
yeah. So he's just attacking with Vault Scourge, not electing to send the Blink Moth Nexus into the red zone.
Yeah. It would have been pretty funny if, I mean, I guess there's no spell that would save the Vault Scourge there if Andrew has to kind of instant to pump it up or whatever. But.
Like not electing to play the fetch land, to sacrifice the fetch land for a land.
Nope. Gotta
send
let as high
Kieran
as
Nalaar.
So at least has Path here. Oh, you cannot cast that. Hold up. Andrew, don't do that. You can't cast it. No, you can't cast it, buddy. What the? Wait, what? Okay, hold up. Alright, well, I guess that concludes it, but it turns out that Andrew cast that Thoughtseize without having the ability to cast it, so... And I think they're just realizing it right now. Well, that's awkward. And, yep, Mike unfortunately realizing the error of his ways, where he, oh, man. Oh, that's... Yeah, unfortunately, he already conceded. I'm pretty sure that Andrew... I think that will count as a win for Andrew.
He can cast the Path, right? You activate the Blink Moth and then cast the Thoughtseize.
Yeah.
So you lose the Path Exile. But you can Path one of the Blink Moth Nexuses.
Well, okay, so the deal is, so the reason why that definitely doesn't work, and the reason why Mike should not have lost that game there, is that in order for Andrew to be able to cast Thoughtseize to be able to take the Path Exile, he has to activate the other Blink Moth Nexus to make it a 4/4. now I have an artifact to be able to tap the Spire of Industry for black, and then Thoughtseize away the Path Exile. But with the 4/4 in play, you can just sort of respond Path, and then now you have like a 1/1 Blinkball Nexus. You take my Lightning Bolt, and then I have to draw something, and they're realizing it now. I mean, Mike had basically 2 turns to draw a removal spell for the other Blinkball Nexus before it would kill him. But his deck is chock full of them, and now he's realizing that.
But it's another one of those situations where you need to draw it. If you miss the draw, you still die.
Right, exactly. So I think that what happens here is that with him conceding in that spot, that counts as a win for Andrew.
I believe it is a completed match at this point. They have put their cards back into their decks.
Yeah,
and the slip was basically signed.
Yeah,
I believe we're probably deliberating with the head judge or the table judge at the moment as to what the exact line is.
Yeah, because it sucks. I mean, Andrew obviously thought that he had an artifact in play, which in a lot of instances you still do. So it's kind of natural to tap your Spire of Industry for your black mana to cast your Thoughtseize.
Yep.
So from his perspective, he's just like, oh, I just do this and I win. And then Mike just assumed that he had an artifact and everything was kosher, but then they realized after the handshake and the scoop of the cards that they had actually done an illegal action, and it completely changed the way that the game ended.
Yeah, it would have changed the game state entirely.
Yeah, I mean,
there's not a high percentage chance that Andrew activates the smaller of the Blink Moth Nexuses in order to play around something like that.
Wait, I wonder what they're going to do, or if they're going to even do anything. I don't think. Yeah, it looks like they're just decideboarding.
Yeah, I believe at this point in time, no more Magic can be played.
No, I don't think so.
So decideboarding is the correct pathing.
Yeah, it just feels terrible, One person makes a mistake, the other person assumes that the other person was doing things correctly. They realize after the concession that actually changed the entire outcome of that game. And then now both players just feel awful because one prematurely conceded by accident and the other one made a mistake that caused their opponent to do the premature concession.
Yep.
It never feels great on either side. It just feels kind of awkward. You don't really know what to say, and I can just only assume that they're kind of awkwardly carrying on at this point.
Yeah, they're both just in a state of denial about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, wow, I can't believe that happened. I can't believe I let that happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff like that. You play so many reps with your decks that you're just used to casting these things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in the Slivers deck we saw earlier, the guy cast a white spell without a white land, right? How many of your lands tap for 5 colors of mana?
Right.
How many of your lands tap for all colors of slivers that you have, like your green sources?
Yeah.
You're just so used to being able to cast your spells at any given time that you mess up. Oh, do I have double white for the Supreme Verdict? Did I have double blue or triple blue for the Cryptic Commands?
Right.
So it's very easy to miss minute things like that when you think about so many other things. It's very late in the day.
Yeah.
Stuff like that gets missed, and they're both just going to become better Magic players because of something like that.
Right. I agree.